Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. Tonight's topic is Huntington's disease, and with me to discuss this evening's topic are Deb and Sue from the Huntington's Disease Connecticut chapter. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you,
Hi.
Pete.
Hi,
How
thank
are
you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming down.
This
So
is
tell us a little bit about yourselves and tell us a little bit about the organization.
Well, first of all, I'd like to explain to people what Huntington's disease is.
Please.
Because most people haven't even heard of it. So basically, had you heard of it before?
No.
I see. Most people haven't heard of it. So, and part of our mission is to educate people about what Huntington's is. So basically, Huntington's is a hereditary, genetic brain disease. And it affects all nationalities and ages and ethnicities equally. It is a rare disease. It affects about 1 in 10,000, so there's about 30,000 affected. It is fatal, unfortunately, and at this point there's no cure. But, the thing is, there's always a but, right?
There you go.
So, since they know what causes the defective gene, all the research can kind of target what's best for the clinical trials. So that's really awesome. And we're excited about that because there's a lot of really good clinical trials going out there. Yeah, and then since it's hereditary, I know how to talk. It's hereditary. If you have a parent who has it, you have a 50-50 chance of inheriting it. So that's kind of like and just because one child has it, had inherited it, it doesn't mean that the other wouldn't. Or if one, there could be none that inherit it. There could be one, or there could be both. If there are
could be
kids.
all.
It could be everybody.
It could be all.
Yeah, which is, in the case of so many families that we come across, and it's extremely heartbreaking, because it just doesn't end. The devastation doesn't end with the disease, in some families.
Yeah.
So Deb, what do you do for the organization?
Well, I came on board, I can say back in the 70s. My mother-in-law had Huntington's, and my father-in-law was very involved when they lived in West Hartford back in the late 70s. She had subsequently died, and when my husband and I were dating, we were involved, and he was later symptomatic when he was about 33. And he was officially diagnosed at 35 and died at 50. So we had gone through the whole gamut with Huntington's. We kept him home, until the last month of his life. It was a very difficult decision to let him go at the end because we had children at home. They had been through so much of the disease that I couldn't allow my husband to die in the home because we were going to be living there, so it would have haunted the kids, their entire lives. They grieved enough through the illness, with every step of it. He died in 2008. At age 50, and I took some time off from the organization. We had actually one of the first walks in the New Haven area back in 2005. I learned then that I was not a fundraiser. We all need to know our limits. Exactly. This is our fundraiser here. This lady right here.
Exactly.
She's the champion.
I know what to
do. I'm a great support person. And after he died, I started running, bereavement support groups, and went back to school because this is my second gig being a therapist. And once I got back in the saddle of being being a therapist, I said, you know what? There are people, that are affected by Huntington's that don't have to suffer the way I did. One of the biggest things I did not do was access my resources. I did not ask for help. And, I paid the price for it, by burning out. So we have support groups now in Connecticut. We're 7.5 years strong in Norwich, which is our first support group. We have support groups in North Haven and in Fairfield. And we've got a great team. a wonderful, wonderful team. We educate every year. In April, we have our Education Day, and at Bacchus Hospital, we've been running it. So we have some of the experts in the field come in. Myself, I've done presentations. I've spoke nationally, for Huntington's, and so we're not done yet. We still have a lot of work to do.
We're very proud of Deb. Yeah. We really are, and she's really come a long way. She didn't tell you that she originally was a law enforcement officer, and she was doing that, and to take care of her husband, she retired early, and she just went so into a whole different profession. I mean, went back to school, got her master's in family therapy. She's written a book. I mean, we really are so proud of Deb.
We're a team.
You wrote a book.
I wrote a book.
What's the book about?
The book is called An Affair Worth Remembering with Huntington's Disease. And it talks about the intimacy, during an illness. Yeah. And, and it's really quite beautiful. It's a love story. Actually, there's a copy in your office. I donated a copy to your office. So,
did you?
And it's an ebook as well. Okay. And it's about caregiving and the side of caregiving that the general population does not see. Is what we often see with caregiving is under one's roof, you never know what's happening.
Right.
The loved one could be so well cared for, but yet nobody attends to the caregiver, who often burns out. They could look like they got run over by a truck, and but as long as the loved one, who is ill, is being cared for, that's all that matters. And as a whole, we dedicate ourselves to helping the caregivers. That's what the support groups are all about, giving them the resources, a toolbox, for self-care, and things that I didn't know at the time, but now I do.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got in
Okay.
In the role that you're with.
I'll tell you.
Tell me. Talk to me.
Well, I didn't know what Huntington's was.
Okay.
I didn't know that my husband was at risk of inheriting it. I know that when I met my mother-in-law many years ago, that she was had a little certain things to her. We just thought she was drunk. Okay. She had unsteady gait, because I haven't really told you the different symptoms of Huntington's.
Right.
So it affects the brain, it affects speech, it affects how you walk, the movements, it affects how you think. With depression, there's a lot of different symptoms. It's been explained that it has similar symptoms of having ALS, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's all at once. So it's kind of like similar, but each person's unique and different.
Sure.
So I didn't really think about it, and my husband never really thought about it. And I've been involved with nonprofits and with fundraising and nonprofits. And I was laid off at one point, and my daughter knows that I can't get. This is right after my sister-in-law passed of Huntington's. My husband's older sister passed when she was 63. And she was in a facility for about 10 years. Okay. But still, families didn't really talk about things. Right. So my husband, so what happened was my daughter knew that I just couldn't sit still. So I had to be involved. So she called the Huntington Disease Society of America regional, New England regional person, and said, my mom wants to help. My mom wants to volunteer. And this was like in 2006. So, of course, at that time, there was nothing here. I mean, there wasn't any support groups, there wasn't any events that went on, and so I kind of had to start everything from scratch. So that's how I met All People, and I learned more about the disease, and I met, certain places that help with the disease, like a UConn Health Center, and met people like Deb when her husband was still alive. And so then my husband at that point, he was in his late 50s, and he wasn't symptomatic. Usually the symptoms are between 30 and 50.
Right.
So we figured, okay, he was good. right? So they have at UConn Health Center, they have an HD program.
Yes.
Okay, so they do testing anonymously and at no cost, which is phenomenal, just for people in Connecticut. So he decided, because at that point, because we had 2 kids and it's hereditary, so he decided he didn't want the kids to have to worry about it, right? So he got tested. Unfortunately, he tested positive. Now, that was before he had symptoms. Now, you also have to know that only 10% of people at risk of inheriting the disease ever get tested, because it's a personal thing, you know? Because at this point, there's no cure. So how many people are brave enough to get tested? So then when he got tested and he was pre-symptomatic, and then I'm still involved, and I'm growing this affiliate, getting to meet new people, we're doing events, you know, we're getting more people. Now Debbie's come back into the fold doing a support group, and the affiliate's growing, and luckily my husband didn't start being symptomatic, because he's 67, he'll be 68. So he didn't become symptomatic until he was in his 60s. He's in 60s. So, and here I am today, talking to you.
Yeah, you guys are hanging out with Pete Mezzetti on a Monday night. What else?
I know, really.
I don't know. Now, the fun, and you guys do events and fundraisers. Speaking of that, we have an event coming up.
We do, and
from what I hear.
Yes,
I know, and I have just nominated him to be our MC now.
Yay! Well, you know what? You can't say no to Sue.
Well,
Okay.
we did have, you know, Tim Lammers.
Yep.
He couldn't make it, so now we'll have Pete Mezzetti as our MC.
All right.
Yes.
I can do that.
So basically, in order to raise awareness and raise funds for the cure, because, you know, we want to cure this disease and help the families. So all of the affiliates and chapters, and there's about 55 throughout the country, hold events. So we have like Team Hope Walk is in May, and then we have an education day. So last year we decided that we were going to do something fun, something different.
Excellent.
Yes. So we had a meeting, and one of our people one of our chapter members, or we were affiliate then, said, well, let's do food trucks. And then someone else said, well, let's do music, bands. So then food trucks and bands came together, and then I got the winery. So we had the food trucks and live bands at a winery.
And it was fun.
Was it?
Fun.
It was so much fun.
All
right.
And it was great, and we actually won an award.
Yeah, we got awards here.
Talk
to us about them.
Yeah, so we, in our national convention, which is once a year, and it's held at different places every year. This year, it was in June, the end of June, right? And it was held in Boston. So a lot of us were able to go, and it was exciting because we had a big group there. And every year they give awards for certain things for nationally. Well, one of the things we got, and then I'll tell you about this one.
Sure.
We were
the
affiliate of the year. Now that's huge. So that's from the whole country. So that we are giving that because of all the things that we've done to help our families in the state. All the components for advocacy, for education, for support, for research, for everything, and to spread the word. So we won that. And then with our little Music on the Vine, which is what one of our other chapter members named it, Music on the Vine.
Okay.
And we won the best new fundraising event.
Cool.
So, and that was throughout the whole country.
Excellent.
So little, Connecticut, we did get that. So we were real excited, and this year we're holding it again at the same winery.
Okay.
And we have a buddy of yours is one of the band members, Chris Chorney with Rock Bottom.
Yeah.
And we have my son's group, which is called South of Hebron, and they're really cool. They do like, Jimi Hendrix, and they do all this kind of stuff. And then we have a jazz quartet. That's good. And then we have this individual guy. But then we have kids activities. It's great. We have a pizza food truck that's coming this year.
You know what? Speaking of food,
Yes.
hold that thought.
Okay.
Would you guys mind sticking around for another segment?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Good. We'll be right back.
Community TV, your neighborhood TV.
Publicly funded and a reliable partner for cable companies nationwide, it provides transparent coverage of local and state government, education, and public programming.
A digital town green that can be watched anywhere, anytime, and on any device.
Watch us on today's high-tech distribution methods.
Community TV in Connecticut,
Local,
unfiltered,
reliable, and
yours.
And welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. Sitting here with Deb and Susan from the Huntington's Disease Foundation of Connecticut. Ladies, welcome back.
Thank you.
Pete.
Thank you. All right, so we talked a little bit about, before the break, this really cool event that we got
this
coming
really
up.
cool event.
And I hear Pete Mezzetti's showing up.
Yes.
And
Pete Mezzetti.
we got...
And you're going to bring all your peeps there,
We
too,
could.
right?
Yeah.
Pete's peeps.
Yeah.
Pete's peeps.
How about that?
No.
All right.
This
We'll be good.
could get out of hand.
We'll be good.
No, don't be good. But we talked about it briefly before the end of the first segment. Let's start this segment
Yes.
talking about the event.
Yes.
Soup to nuts, nuts to bolts,
Yes.
peeps to peeps, and
Good.
let's go.
All right.
When?
Well, we're real excited because one of our performers, and we just found this out,
Okay.
his name is David Ludkin.
Okay.
And he has been starring locally at Goodspeed and at Ivoryton Playhouse
Sure.
in musicals.
Absolutely.
And what he does is he travels around the country and the world. He's in this musical called Woody Says, The Life and Music of Woody Guthrie. And why that's so important to us, Woody Guthrie, is that Woody Guthrie had Huntington's disease, and his wife, Marjorie, is the one that actually started the Huntington Disease Society of America in either about 67, 68.
And at that time, it was called the Committee to Combat Huntington's Disease, and it was started at her kitchen table. You know, that a very, very grassroots organization.
Exactly.
And look what it's become. You know,
Yeah.
absolutely
And that-
amazing. 50 years strong, I think now it is.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that's why we say family's everything, because at the kitchen table and the families and the
Exactly.
families support each other.
Exactly.
So David it's so exciting. He's going to be coming and singing some songs from the musical, and he's going to be giving out some CDs, and we have some tickets donated from Ivoryton for the performance. Oh, I forgot to say, we have like wonderful
What do we got?
raffle and auction items.
We do?
We do.
Excellent.
And so there's that. There's the children's activities. They're awesome. This is a family-friendly event.
Okay.
And we know it's on a Sunday, and people have things to do on Sundays, but it's during the day. It's 2:30 to 7.
Okay.
You don't have to go the whole time. It's a very reasonably priced event, so adults under 62, because that's a senior, 62 is a senior, are $20 a person.
Okay.
And then seniors, students, and children 12 and up are $10.
Okay.
And then any child 11 and under are free.
There you go.
Yeah. So we have all these great things for kids. Last year it was phenomenal. We have a big tent. They had their face painting. They did scavenger hunts. They did all this stuff.
And Pete, what I'd like to say is the thing about Huntington's disease and any disease, where it affects how a person looks,
Right.
is all these events are inclusive. Everyone is included. And that's the beauty of the conventions, because when the Huntington's families get together, no one is alone.
Nope.
Everyone is included.
Exactly.
And they're such heartwarming events because the caregivers, the persons with Huntington's alike, we embrace each other. Because, you know, it is events such as like this where we can educate and we can have fun and be real families for a change.
Yeah.
You know, not be the disease. And it's really lovely.
And it has
It's
people
lovely.
in the community coming so they can understand, because the event is so much fun. You know, you don't have to be anything related to Huntington's to go to this event. I mean, there's wine, you know, at a winery.
Yeah.
So the winery's wonderful. Chateau Legary in Marlborough, Connecticut. Last year was our first year, and they donate the building. I mean, they're phenomenal. You know, really, they could get that, you know, for a wedding, and so they're just phenomenal. Because being a nonprofit like we are, we need donations. We don't, you know, I'm not afraid to beg.
No.
I'll tell you, I'm not afraid. Yeah, at this point, I'm still looking for a PA system. So anyone out there looking and would like to help, you know, donate a PA system, or someone who has an ice cream food truck or something like that, we're still looking for that. But no, it's phenomenal. It's the bands are great.
Yeah.
The winery's wonderful. We get $1 for each glass of wine that's sold. We have sponsors. We have we do. We have Care One, which is a long-term facility. Right?
It's in Massachusetts.
In Massachusetts, they're a $500 sponsor. We have a family member, Terry Ellis, who just is giving us a $500 sponsor. We have Donor View, which is a website where you do events, $250 sponsor. We're still looking for more, so if anyone else wants to sponsor, we're fine. And we're really not asking to raise that much money. I mean, when you look at these other, you know, with Parkinson's and with Alzheimer's and with, you know, MS and all these, they raise thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But we're really just hoping to raise $3,500 at this event. So basically, when you, with your $20 or $10 ticket fee, that doesn't include any food. Or the wine, but you figure that's the donation that you're giving. So that is tax deductible if you want to use it as a tax deductible expense.
And if people want more, before I forget, if people want more information on the event, where are we going?
We're going to www.hdsa.org/CT. And then that has the event on it, and you can click on it to buy tickets, and you can click on it to get a flyer too. It goes to our website.
We're also on Facebook.
Yes, we're on Facebook.
Where do you find us? Where can we go?
I think it's facebook.com HDSACT.
And if you're not writing any of this down, you can email me, and I can get everything to you.
Yes, yes.
Because
and do we say how we got here? No, from Chris?
We can.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Of course. So you never know who you're going to meet.
Exactly.
Right? So all of a sudden we get this email. I see this email on National that this wonderful Pete Mezzetti is going to be contact Mezzetti, right?
Yeah.
That's who you are.
That's me, I think.
Has contacted them, and he wants to interview us for. And we're saying, well, who is this Pete? We got to know this Pete
Who
Mezzetti.
Who is Pete Mezzetti?
I know.
I ask myself the same question every morning.
Well,
Who is Pete Mezzetti?
So the same time, I get a Facebook, message from Chris Chorney.
Yeah.
Saying, oh, this Pete is a good guy. And I'm thinking, who is Pete? This was like before I read the email. It's like, who's this Pete? So then I got to meet this famous Pete Mezzetti.
At least you've been screened.
Exactly. It's like I've been background checked.
That's right.
My God, should I be afraid?
Not anymore.
Should I be worried?
So you never know what's going to happen, right?
Exactly.
And Chris, who's one of the in the band, it's
he's
Rock Bottom.
Sure, absolutely.
And Chris, we got Chris last year because of Debbie, because Debbie's husband used to play with Chris. So
Well, they were motors. They didn't play.
Oh, they didn't?
They hung out.
They hung out. They would go ride across the country on their motorcycles
Yeah.
back when he was well. So yeah.
It's all.
Chris is a good guy.
Oh, he's wonderful.
So it's all.
Chris is a really good
He's
guy.
Uncle Chris.
Yeah, I like Chris a lot.
It's all who you know.
Absolutely.
Not what you know, and that's why we just when I'm trying to beg for things, you know, and I say we're all volunteers.
Yep.
You know, I said grassroots volunteer,
Oh, yeah.
virtually volunteer run, and we really depend on the kindness and support of our communities.
Absolutely.
To help us accomplish our goal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a little something that I'd like to put out there
Yeah, go for it.
for education purposes.
Sure.
I'm a retired police officer, as we said earlier, and I was blessed enough. I worked for North Haven PD for 25 years, and they were so supportive as my husband was ailing and walking around town because he could no longer drive.
Yeah.
And one of the symptoms of Huntington's for him was extensive chorea. He would be moving all over the place. If you didn't know better, you would think he was stumbling or he was drunk.
That's like my
And
mother-in-law.
and that becomes a very serious issue because police officers may be alerted that someone's walking down the street, they appear drunk,
Yep.
and all of a sudden the antennas go up. Are they going to be combative, this person? So
Are
many
they
times
okay?
it doesn't end well.
Yeah, right.
Because they're put into a defensive mode, and and it's all about education. And this is what I try to explain to families in our support groups, that if you live in a community, get to know your beat cop.
Absolutely.
Because if the officer in your neighborhood knows that my husband's name was Perry, if they knew that, know that Perry has this illness, and he's walking, and he was an athlete his whole entire life. He would ride his bike, and when he couldn't ride his bike, he would walk, but then he would fall and get up. And if the beat cop knows
Right.
that this person in their neighborhood has an illness, then if they get a suspicious call, they know who
They
it
know.
is. And this just cuts to the chase, that yes, we're familiar with this person, he's okay, he's a good guy. They'll also keep an eye out.
Absolutely.
Just like any other illness, like the wanderers with Alzheimer's, and get to know your local police departments.
Absolutely.
Much easier in small towns
And
like here.
we actually.
You know what, guys? We're out of time.
Oh my!
That's it.
We did good.
We did. But
Okay.
before I say goodnight, I want to thank you guys for
Well,
coming down.
thank
Hopefully we'll have you
you.
on again soon.
Yeah.
Love to. We'd love to.
Sure, we
On
can
behalf
go.
of Sue and Debbie,
segment
I'm Pete
2.
Mezzetti. Thanks, good night. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.